Hello, and welcome to the Raising Athletes podcast. I am Kirsten Jones. I'm a peak performance and sports parenting coach. And in the midst of trying to raise three athletes myself, I've started this podcast almost 5 years ago with Susie Walton because we want to truly help parents and coaches and athletes figure out what's holding them back, release those limitations, and do better. And when we know better, we can do better. And so today's guest is so spot on. I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years as a Sunshine coach myself. We've been on the sidelines together, and then I've worked with some of his teams, coaching athletes from the mindset standpoint. And we're very aligned in how we look at what we want the kids to get out of the experience. So welcome, Alex Chigas. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Kirsten. I'm really excited to be here as well. It's been awesome getting to know you and kind of see all of this play out. So really excited to be here. I'm Alex Chigas. I have coached at Sunshine in Los Angeles for 4 years now. And prior to that, I coached at two other clubs in the Midwest. And then I moved out to sunny LA after a quick stint in Australia, which I played with adults down there as well. Along with coaching club girls or high school girls, I also work with adults, mostly LGBTQ adults, because I quickly found out that volleyball is a sport that a lot of people are attracted to. They like to be on the beach, they like to learn the skills, and it kind of opened up another door for me to work with an entirely new group of people as I've gotten older.
So fun. And we have such a great discussion. We, full disclosure, we're supposed to record this a couple weeks ago, and we ended up having an hour discussion anyway. And we said, oh, we should have just hit record. But let's start with your journey and how you got to be a coach. Why coaching? Why volleyball? Maybe take us through, your volleyball path and journey.
Of course, yeah. It started way back when I was 10. I just was a natural. I could serve the ball over the net. Couldn't wait to get to volleyball camp, which at that time, I don't think men's volleyball was as popular or boys volleyball. So I was fortunate enough to be in a space where there was a team. And I quickly just climbed up that ladder, and I would have my coaches just hit balls at me nonstop as much as I could. And I really fell in love with these sports. And it kind of paved my own way, especially in my family. They played baseball, hockey, soccer, which I did as well, and exposed myself to a lot of different sports. But volleyball was truly the one that hit the mark for me, just a little bit more in tune with what I needed to do, and kind of loved kind of going out there and fighting with a team. And then I joined club volleyball when I was 14 and played through 18 years old. I didn't go to college to play, although I did have opportunities. I just chose other routes, which, is a lot to handle for an 18-year-old. When you're getting all of this 16 to 18-year-old, you're getting a lot of, wait, this person's getting this coach, and these people are going up to these people, and how do I become that person? And it quickly became overwhelming. But how I stayed with the sport is I played a lot of rec leagues. I played a lot of met a lot of people in the sport that had a similar experience to me. And I ended up becoming a way more well-rounded athlete and player in my adult life because I knew the game, I knew the sport. And that turned into me coaching because I met directors of a club where I went to college. So I coached my first team when I was 21, which is crazy because now these girls are verging like 25, 26, 27, married with kids. And it's so weird to see that I was a mentor in their life at one point, and they're completely grown up, graduated college. So I kind of fell in love with it. And I took this fours team, which I don't really like the hierarchy of thing, but a fours team to win their final tournament, which included the threes team. And we beat them in the championship. So I'll never forget that. I hope those girls took something from that. We spent a whole season. And that's where it kind of really shifted for me. Like, I can do this. I can teach the things that are in this brain that may not be precise on every technical skill and everything, but I taught the mindset of how to win when maybe you shouldn't on paper. And that was really what drew me into continuing to coach. Ended up coaching in Madison, Wisconsin, following college volleyball, just following even more love with the journeys of athletes and the sport. And then ended up in LA where I joined Sunshine amidst COVID, and dealt with all of that as my first season. And now I am going on to my 6th club team with Sunshine in only 4 seasons, which you can tell I'm pretty busy. So here we are.
Yay. Well, from your personal journey, what I love and what's happening less and less is clearly you continue to play, not because of the scholarship, not because of being recruited, but because you loved it. And the fact that you had a broad base of sports probably meant you were a better athlete at 21 when you started coaching it because you had experienced other things. And that's why parents listening, I get that question all the time, and I bet you do too, coaching the little ones. How do you handle that when parents say, oh, well, she's also playing soccer, or we also play, lacrosse. Is that okay? What's your take on being a multi-sport athlete?
I think it is very, very important to be a multi-sport athlete. Like some of the agility or training I got from taking karate when I was like 8 years old. And then there's a performance aspect to that of being judged on your ability in a pressure situation where like adults are judging you. And those lessons of being on a court with a lot of eyes on you, you have to be able to zone in and focus. And I give a lot of that to karate. Soccer, I've missed the ball when I needed to score a goal. Those sort of failures and successes that you experience in those sports carry over to those situations that you will experience in volleyball. You're going to miss when the pressure's on. You're going to make it when the pressure's on. And you have to get used to those experiences. And in sport, you'll encounter those more if you play different sports.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And the more, not only your reaction time, but your love of the game, being able to have a break from a sport and be able to come back to it, and the lack of injury. You probably won't get injured as much because you're using different muscles, and you're giving your body and your mind a break from that. So one of the things that I was most excited to talk to you about, because you're coaching with some of the younger 14s, 15s, and not the top star players, right? And I believe that a great coach is somebody who takes every single player on their roster and makes them better. It doesn't mean that you take the number 10 and try to make them the number 1, or you don't only focus on the top 3, but that you are able to help everybody get from where they start to where they might end up throughout the course of the season. So could you talk about like what your coaching philosophy is? I know when we get into club, parents sign up and then they're kind of told, stay away. We'll let you know when we need you. Yet I would like to kind of pull back the curtain and say, there is some method to the madness. There is some approach that you take. I know you do. We've talked about it. So if you could share some of that, I think it could be very enlightening.
Yes, for sure. So when I start a club season or get into it a little bit, one of the major things I ask is, why are you here? And sometimes it comes out of a really low level energy practice or something that didn't go the way I thought it would. And I ask, why are you here? And you get so many different answers. And I truly think that until you understand why those girls are in the gym, you really can't help them grow as individuals as much as you think. Of course, probably 50% of my training, 60, 70 maybe, is going to be the same with every girl because we're just trying to get them to be good as a team and good at the sport. But then there's that little bit that is, how do I get this specific girl to be the best that they can be? Or what can I see them do? What can I put them through to see if they excel at that specific skill or that specific moment? Are they good under pressure? And if you don't really analyze all of that with every girl, you're really not going to understand how to maximize the potential of your team, especially if you're not the top team, especially if you're not seeing them up against the best teams in the nation. You might one day beat a team 25-0 and then have the exact opposite happen to you. And that's the weird thing. So I really like to analyze each girl. It takes a little bit of time, understand how they perform in the gym, what their energy level is, what they do in their life, and decide whether or not the way I was going to coach the team is right for them. And it usually turns out pretty good. It's not a perfect thing. I don't think anything is. But I truly believe if you understand why they're there and what they are capable of, or even what they're specifically good at. Sometimes if a girl can push a ball to zone 1, I can use that in a match when zone 1 is open and the team can't play defensively against that. And to be honest, I won a tournament by just having a girl push to zone 1, and she was not my starting outside, but she could do that one skill that the other two could not. And that's so weird to me, and that's a really specific example, but you multiply that by 14 girls, you all of a sudden could start with a completely different team that has skills to beat the other team on the other side. Maybe it's not your starting lineup, but if you understand each of your girls and what they're capable of doing, you have a really good shot of having a more well-rounded team and getting girls on the court that may not see time otherwise if you stick to that starting core group.
So do you actually have, I mean, and maybe not literal, but it sounds like you kind of have a system that you, or an approach, like at the beginning of the season, you're assessing different skills, strengths, both mentally, physically. Could you talk about, like, you know, again, I think a lot of people think, oh, he's just picking out the tallest ones and deciding those are going to be the ones that are going to play, right? And that's what they'll say. They're like, well, all the tall girls are on the floor and all the short girls aren't. So clearly, you know, I'm not speaking about you specifically, but that's the feedback parents will give because they don't really understand. So is there a, you know, like, could you talk a little bit more about what are you assessing and how do you make those decisions?
Yes. So what you said, I think there's truth to that. There has to be in sports. Sometimes you're just not physical or tall enough to compete against somebody else. But they take that and they make it bigger than it needs to be. Because if you took what you had, which I kind of referenced to earlier, if you took what you had as a player, which maybe a high reach point, maybe an energy and effort that nobody matched you on the court. So that tall person was always tall. Maybe they maximize their effort at 60% because they didn't need to. But if you're 3 inches shorter, you might have to learn to give 150% every single second you're on that court. And if you could figure out how to do that, you've now flipped the script and are battling against a taller person. And believe me, it is intimidating when, even as a coach, when my max height is 5'10", maybe 6 foot on a good day with some good shoes, and the starting middle is 6'3". They have 2 6'3" people. But I try to wipe that aside and go, what can you do as a player being this person you are? Because I always like to look at my parents and go, why are we playing this match if on paper the 6'3" girls are going to win every time? Why are we here? Why do we play? Why don't we just sign the score sheet and say they have 6'3" girls, they won? You know, it's like, why are we playing the sport then? Why are we here? And you can make up for things you don't have to some capacity, whether that's height, energy, effort. There's always something you could do. You could be a little lower. You could be a little bit more intense to bring out what they might not have learned because they were given a physical trait, height.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a bit younger than me, but I think we come closer to the same generation of being parented similarly. We've seen shifts, parenting shifts. I talk about it in the book that, you know, parents are they're more engaged. They're more, well, and we're tethered to our phones. So we have this umbilical cord with our kid. So they're able to get a lot of, you know, I think in our day, you went to practice, you came home by the time you were, you know, even though you're mad at the coach, but after, you know, mom had made dinner and you sat down, you kind of forgot about it. And now you got the kid texting in the carpool home, you know, then this happened. And so the parents are getting like all of this too much information, probably, right? Whereas if they had an hour, they'd be like, how was practice? It's fine, right? They'd moved on. But we hear, oh, practice didn't go well. Ooh, the coach is this or that. And then, then the parents start ooh, gotta fix, right? Can you talk at all about, from your experience, and I think there's some positives too to this. It's not all doom and gloom, but how is your role, you know, in the last 4 or 5 years working with parents, and how do you set yourself up for success with that?
This is a tough one. It's a work in progress all the time. And I truly think I get along with parents and families, and I've been successful at that. But there is this sort of underlying thing that is the sport and their girl playing the sport and me in the steering wheel of that. the first thing that I like to say to my parents is the conversations you have at home about me, the sport, the girls they're playing with, the gym, will dictate how they perform at practice. And I don't mean being the best passer, the best hitter, but who they're listening to, their eye rolls, their body language, their attitude. If you've allowed a space for them to complain a lot more than maybe they should, or be a little bit more negative, that's transparent to me in the gym, especially if I hear about it later. So if I go, oh, this was the conversations at home you were having, that's why I got some eye rolls. That's why I didn't get the, okay, coach, good job. And do I need that all the time? But no, I need a team player that's going to show up to the gym and be part of the team and bring a positive mentality and add to the team in whichever way they can, really. And I did have a parent come up to me and go, I've stopped allowing the negative conversations in the car rides. And it truly shifted how these kids were open to feedback, how they were open to the drills, how just they were open to, okay, we got nothing left than to just give this a shot. Because if we're only looking for the bad and we're only looking for, oh, the wrong the coaches are doing because our parents are talking about it as well, now all of a sudden we're at practice just in this negative space. And you start to feel it as a coach. You start to feel that. And you kind of know without.
I love that advice. Parents, listen to that advice. I think it's so good. It's easy to want to side with your kid and assume that the situation is how they perceived it. And there might be some truth to that, but it's I completely align with the classroom too. So when your kid comes home from school and is complaining about the teacher, and all of a sudden you just start dogpiling on the teacher too, and then by the time it's the end of the semester, we know why you're not getting a good grade, because that like you're not allowing them to work out the details of what's going on with the, okay, gosh, it sounds like you really should go, maybe text Alex right now and see if you can meet with him 5 minutes before practice next time. Or what tools, what would you recommend? What do you like to see when you kind of feel that negativity building up?
Yeah, I think like you just mentioned, transparency and the truth will set us free. Honestly, I think it goes so far. Like if you're honest with me, we can get over it in 2 days. If it's something that I kind of have to swallow or swallow my pride, and you can do the same. But if we let this linger for an entire season, we've now ended up at 60% of what we could have been. And I'd like to touch on what you said about a teacher, because sometimes parents see a kid in a sport and it's their only thing they do. And the sport could be 50% of their life, they think, and the other half is of friends in school and whatever. But I'm not 50% of their life. I'm 6 hours a week with them as a mentor for their sport, but I'm not 50% of their life because I'm the coach of their favorite sport or what they're included in. And I feel like that is sometimes missed as well, is they have teachers, friends, counselors, mentors, and all of these people add up to who they are when they go out into the world. And although I have a big impact on the year they're with me for the club sport, they also have so many mentors at the same exact time. And that's where I feel like they're asking questions, allowing them space to use things from this sport or this school or this class and bring that to the team. From a retreat, I know a lot of these girls go on retreats. From this retreat, what can you bring to volleyball? And just and get those conversations going. So you're offering solutions, not just problems all of the time, and kind of getting them their culmination of who they are as people in this moment. Bring that to the gym, bring that to the court.
One of my most recent epiphanies as I'm working on promoting the book is talking about what is it we think we're going to get out of sports. And as a mom of a 4, 5, 6, whatever, 8-year-old, you have these visions of being on the podium, of winning the medal, of being on the ones team, and you feel like that's your dream for your kid. And of course, all of those are wonderful. And of course, wonderful to have, in their tool chest. But, when you do the exercise of looking back on your life from 90 and you say, okay, so what mattered most in your, teens, 20s, 30s? Okay, yeah, maybe you'll mention one podium or two, but most of what you'll mention is that time when the thing didn't go well, but then I pivoted and I figured it out. That time when I got cut from that ones team, and then we had that threes team that we ended up, unseating the twos team. Like, it's those gritty moments. And if we parents could understand that the beauty is in the middle of the mess sometimes, and not necessarily in the magic of it being the best team ever. And I had the opportunity to work with a team with you a couple of years ago where it was a little bit messy. Um, and the girls were complaining, and they were kind of contentious with the coaches, and we kind of had a kumbaya moment where we're like, okay, either we can implode this whole thing, or we can all put our stuff on the table and say, maybe the learning is going to come through us realizing that we players need to own this process. We are the ones that need to raise our hands and say, it's not the coach's fault. It's not the club director's fault. It's not my parents' fault. I'm the one on the floor or on the sidelines. And that team came together and had a beautiful run all the way. What did we finish? Top 5?
Top 8. We got fifth at
Yeah.
nationals that year.
Right.
And
it
all of
didn't
that
start
happened
that way.
in May, April, like all of that, the epiphany you just talked about, and we played early July. So yeah, it was a
How did that
heavy
feel?
season.
How did that feel from your perspective going through that process?
Whew, that was a heavy season. I will say I shed tears a couple times in that season, but to be honest, I think that every one of those girls and me will remember that for a long time. Like I talked about my fours team beating the threes team, and this was that almost even bigger. Like, it was an incredible transformation. Everybody owned it. It was a very surreal experience because it was just like one tight-knit family trying to make this happen after a really, really hard situation. And I'm so proud of them still to this day. They're going to college right now, so I'm following all theirs, and they're truly my first group of players that across the board are just going to college or went D1 or playing the sport, and all of them have had different goals at the time. But it was a lot.
Wasn't pretty.
It was
Yeah, and
not
I think
pretty.
I think people have this idea. We have this, that things are going to, and then I'm going to sign up for this and it's going to be perfect. And, the team's just going to, everybody's going to get along and everybody's going to love everybody. And, it's interesting, I think, when the girls get the opportunity to own it and to deal with it and to talk to each other. And they were really on. I said in a few of our discussions where people were giving, they were telling, not in a mean way, in a very constructive, powerful, and empowering way, holding each other accountable. And that's what it takes to be successful.
Yes. And with your help, and we were able to shift our mindset, which it shows you how important it is versus the physical ability to play the sport. Because at the end of the day, they were 17. They were pretty much developed in terms of as much as we could go at this time in terms of their physical and technical abilities. But the mindset of them is what flipped the script. The emphasis on you can do it, and you can do it as a group, regardless of the history of the season, is what really changed that. And that was also the parents going, we're doing this. And did they look back and go, wow, that was an exhausting season? They did. But when they let them fly and let them go and let us do our thing, it worked out for the better for everybody. And without that storm in the beginning, I don't think it would have been a positive experience. We could have got fifth at nationals and it would have been not enough. And it was enough, just given how hard we worked and how we played those games that we played at nationals. The excitement, the jumping around, the true compassion for the person next to you. I couldn't believe it because it was just so surreal and an amazing experience to be a part of.
You were in flow. The whole team was in flow. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I ran over to your court every time I could to see how they were doing because it was so fun to see, right? And you can see it. It's, to me, it's like going to the Beyonce concert or whatever, name your favorite rock star. But when you see somebody doing what they're meant to do in a way that they're meant to do it is so beautiful and so like, oh, you just want to be a part of that and to be around it. And it's what a beautiful gift that, again, I know it wasn't pretty from the whole thing, but that's what life is, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
life is messy. And again, I hope, it'd be fun to ask some of those girls who I'm still in touch with a couple of them, but what they learned from that is probably serving them very well at the D1 level.
I would agree. I mean, those moments, even that moment helps me in real life. just
Right?
like sometimes when I doubt myself in this field, I go, I did that. I helped these kids do that. I was a mentor and a leader and pulled something out of them. And I worked really hard to do that. And I use that when I doubt myself. And I'm hoping that when they're on that court, they go and they say something like that, because I did have rumblings of them telling other girls at the club about their experience and it being a positive one at the end of the day, and just how that click that they had and how they were playing for each other is the goal of
Mm-hmm.
every club team. It should be the goal of every club team. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I get emotional even talking about it.
It was so fun. So I feel like I know we've been dancing around it, but am I missing something around I'm trying to think of other messages that you would want the parents to hear. And maybe it's even going back to the younger ones, but we had some good discussion around understanding, trying to think of tips to be helpful for parents as they're in the middle of high school season now, middle school, high school season. And, in a couple of short weeks, we're going to be doing clinics and we're ramping up again for club season. So, what tools or, conversations in the car or dinner table, chats that you would be recommending to parents, either through their high school, middle school season or getting ready for club?
I think the biggest piece of advice and something that from reading your book is let them develop themselves. Let them have the hard conversations and let them get that grit through experiences. You can be a support system for sure. One example is like maybe a more introverted, shy person, right? It's really hard for them to go up to their coach and say what they're thinking and feeling. And what has worked in the past for a parent is, hey, my daughter wants to talk to you about this. Would you, if she doesn't do it today, would you maybe do it at practice this week? I'm okay with that. Sure, I would like her to learn the skills to be able to go, Coach Alex, I want to come talk to you. But maybe that's not realistic for her yet. Maybe she needs some experiences where the conversations go really well for her, and then she's more comfortable going up to parent. But just that text gives me some knowledge. Oh, right, she's a little bit shyer. I don't think she's going to come right up to me and go, Coach, I have to talk to you. So I think if you're going to support, just know your daughter is capable of a lot more. And you touch on that. They're a lot more resilient. They're a lot stronger than you think. And sometimes it's just that inability to go up to the coach or get attention when they kind of just want to sneak in and not really be noticed. So I'd say support from a distance and then slowly get closer if things are starting to be not turn out the way you thought or be a little bit more negative, but let them steer the ship of, if it's playing time, coach, how can I get on the court? If it's not having a good day, ask me for tips on how to get through a practice when you haven't had the best day. And the truth of all of those conversations usually results in a more positive experience for her. And then when she gets to college, when she's, in the middle of New York City at NYU, is she going to be fine out there? If she's able to talk to me by herself, I can guarantee you she's on the way to doing great things. But if you're leading that charge 100%.
And maybe, like you were saying, if it's somebody who's a little more introverted, then she's nervous about, and I've done that. I've had Parents just text the coach, and they put you on a pedestal. I know maybe as a coach you just assume everybody finds you approachable, but it's even just you saying, "Hey, Lisa, did you want to chat for a few minutes before practice?" That little ask, and that's all they need. Oh, great, thanks. He wants
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
speak to me, right? They feel special. They feel seen. They feel heard. And you're asking for their opinion, and everybody wants to be invited, and everybody wants to know they're enough. Like, that's it. And particularly if I'm not getting much playing time, maybe it's not even about playing time. A lot of kids, I'm always surprised when the mom calls because she wants the appointment because she's not playing. And then I sit down with the kid, and the kid's like, "Oh, I know I shouldn't be playing. I'm not nearly as good as the other four, but I just love being there." And so the perception, right, as one thing that the parent has. And again, you get it. You're paying all this money. You would like to see them on the floor, but also, again, maybe the real hidden gem here is that your daughter learns to advocate for herself, that she learns to speak up and ask for feedback, so that at least she knows what she should be working on, so that she has a shot at getting in there. And then I would have to think that in the back of your head, you're like, okay, Lisa asked, okay, I'm going to give her a shot, right?
Mm-hmm. Without fail, that just drive and initiative is something that not a lot of people show directly in their speech or in how their body language is. They might go out there and play the sport nonstop, but those sort of things show me things that you can't teach.
Yeah. So any other thoughts or advice for parents? Again, we're going to have good discussions away from the sport after day or 2 or 5 after the match. Ask for keep checking in is what I like to say too, because sometimes we sign up in July and by November, we've pivoted, we've changed, we've moved on. And, if it's not for them, that's okay. Let's not, because it's a lot of a coach's time too. Like when you ask why, do you ever get I don't know, my mom signed me up?
Yeah, I get probably that, not that directly, but more so like, oh, to do something after school, or oh, to be with my friends and have fun. And to me, those are kind of all in the same ballpark. No, nothing wrong with that. Like, good for you.
Yeah.
But the mentality of a club sport inherently is usually a little bit more, I'm here to play the game and learn the sport. And I've quickly found out by asking that question that that's not the main idea of why people are there, of why athletes are there. Most of it is honestly to play something with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And that's changed because there is no rec ball, or in a lot of cases, there's no rec ball or very little access to rec, right? I mean, that's where those athletes should be playing, is in a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club or whatever, a place where they can just go have fun for an hour with their friends and be good with it. And they don't have to get on a plane to Reno or whatever to, that level of commitment or cost. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
yeah, they do it anyway. And the thing is sometimes I could take that and now I know that, but I don't shift the initiative of the team. Like, you're here,
Okay.
you could be here for fun with your friends, but maybe to have fun with your friends, they want competition. They want a serious practice. So you have to find that balance, because just because 4 girls want to have fun or 2 girls maybe don't want to be there today, 8 girls do. 8 girls are there for different reasons, to try and go to a college program. So, and this is another advice to parents, is imagine balancing that. Imagine balancing 14 different goals, from I'm here because my family signed me up, to I want to go to a collegiate program. I want to make the ones team next year. And if you look at practices, you know what a group of girls who are signed to college programs look like at practice. That ball is nonstop moving. They run their own drills. They're loud. They're supportive. And at 14s, 15s, we're teaching them how to be that at practice, how to run their own drills, how to do those things. And if you now have one girl who just wants to have fun, you're trying to mix that in all together. You're trying to make a perfect dish of all different types of ingredients. And it's truly where I think parents kind of don't see the background of what we're doing every day. We're trying, we can't just run the same drill that we could run with a different set of reasons why they're there.
Yeah.
So,
and I see that with the 9 and 10-year-olds, even the little ones who come in, and there's ones that are like locked in from the second they walk in the gym, and you're giving directions and they're making eye contact. And then there's the other ones that are like doing TikTok, and you literally can't even call, circle up, because you cannot get their attention because they're not interested in being there. And again, I'm not saying don't do it. Absolutely, parents, don't take it the wrong way. We need to try a lot as humans. We need to explore and experience. And for you to figure out that volleyball was your passion, you went through a bunch of other sports, as did I. So that's what's good about this. And I think you should be sampling a lot of different things, and music, and languages, and sports, like all of it. And that's what life is about. And the more you do that, the more curious you become. The more curious you become, then one thing morphs into the other, which leads me to, I love what you're doing with the LGBTQ community. Like, what a gift for them to take, to get to receive from you this tool set that, like a lot of these people probably haven't had the chance, or they did and they haven't played in a long time. So maybe can you talk about what the program that you have?
yeah, so I'm starting to run clinics for one of the leagues that has beginner to advanced, and I just go out there and teach new skills and just how to do it correctly. And people will just be like, oh my gosh, that's so much easier. And it's not the same goal at all. Like, I'm not trying to get them to college. I'm literally trying to they just want to have fun. They want to learn to play. They want to join this league on Sundays and win it instead of just come to play. And it's really like, there's no pressure. There's a pressure to make them better, but better doesn't mean anything. Better just means they're having a better time with the sports. And it's so nice. And then do privates with them and have them get a little more talented with their skills. The funny thing is, though, the world is wants what they want in the snap of a fingers. And I let them know that this is going to take you a long time. Like, technically, I should be throwing this ball at you 250 more times in the same way, right? But that's not realistic when it comes to what their goals are. We're just trying to have fun while teaching them. So it's a whole
This is on
different
the
world.
beach?
Yes, the beach.
So then you add the sand element to
The
anything,
sand.
right? Like, yeah, like in your mind, you watch, the videos of them playing. You're like, oh, and then you go out and try and jump. Like, yeah, it's going to take a while for you to even just be able to jump out of the sand, much less chase down a ball, right?
Yeah, it is really fun though. It is really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can push them in different ways that you might not be able to with a club team. You can have fun. You can do a lot, and I actually learn more about how to coach kids that way. So
Yeah.
It's fun, and I'm excited to keep expanding more and get more people in my circle to help just get better, and for no reason, just to play.
Well, to enjoy it, which
Yeah.
should be the point of all of it, by the
Yeah,
way, right? Like, you
true.
should be doing it because it's fun. It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be a job. And the professionalization of youth sports, where these 10-year-olds are like, feel like they're already, making sure that the coaches might be watching me at 10. They're not watching you. Like, you should be doing this because you're passionate about it. And I love it that the people that will continue to play for years and years and years, because it's a great workout. I get to be with my friends. I'm on the beach. I'm just having a great time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the point of it all, right?
Really. And I'm discovering that too. As I go out there more and more, I'm discovering it too. So it's good.
So Alex, thank you so much. This has been super insightful. I hope parents, you took away a few things. Could you, and obviously people follow you around Sunshine Volleyball Club, but what's your personal, where can people follow you if they wanted to come check you out at one of your clinics on the beach too?
Yeah, so I mostly coach at Ocean Park or Will Rogers North, like right off Temescal Canyon. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Alex Chigas. I normally just book through there. Or just take a walk down Ocean Park and look for me and then say, can I join this one time? I will most definitely say yes. And yeah, I come out there with yourself, 2 people, 4 people, 8 people, and you'll get the same experience. So
Oh, it's wonderful. I think the world needs more of you. We need more people who are just opening their heart and welcoming everybody in and saying, I have a gift. Here, you want some of it? Come join us. I love that. Thank you so much for being with us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please like and review and follow us on Spotify and iTunes. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks,
thank you
Alex.
for having me. Thank you. See you later.